Hello everybody, welcome to Calvary Youth Online tonight. It is so good to have you here.
It is so good to have you here, especially if it is your first time joining with us tonight. There is no place better to be than Friday online.
It's true, it is very true. And if you are new here, there is a link in the description box that you can click and fill out so that we can connect with you, get to know you, and then we could actually get you hooked into the best part of being a part of Calvary Youth, which is our Connect groups.
Holla at me.
Why Connect groups so good?
Because I'll tell you why. You get to connect.
That's absolutely fantastic and 100% true. Connects are an awesome way to be able to connect with other like-minded people in your grade, to be able to hang out, talk about some cool things, maybe play some video games. Who knows? We know. We actually do know. But we want you to find out.
And you'll know when you come to a Connect.
That's right. Hey, tonight's service is going to be absolutely amazing. We can't wait. We love you all. Enjoy the service.
Bye.
Whoa, welcome. Thanks guys for setting us free, y'all.
Thanks, man.
We're back as the... Wait a minute, who are you?
Noah didn't make it, man.
Oh no, Noah, rest in peace, brother. Anyway, we're back another week. My name's Levi.
I'm Jack.
And we're the Beanie Bros. This week, we're doing another challenge. This week, what do we got, Jack?
The Marshmallow Challenge.
What? The Marshmallow Challenge, you say? What does that even mean?
We're gonna catch marshmallows in our mouth.
Oh, we're gonna play not just the marshmallow game, but catching marshmallows in our mouth. We're gonna put a twist on it. Yeah, that's right. We're gonna put a twist on it. It's gonna be sick.
The twist we're putting on it is we're gonna be putting marshmallows in our mouth and then saying rowdy boys until we throw up.
What's for this week, you might say? Is it DIY hot glue gun? No. Put marshmallows right up in your mouth. Until we throw up, because we're saying rowdy boys.
Yeah, there's nothing to do with the marshmallows. Marshmallow. Rowdy boys. Welcome to the skyscraper.
Yeah.
Yeah! That was sick. Bounce shot.
Rowdy boys. It's called the switcheroo.
Oh!
Rowdy boys.
Rowdy boys. Bit in an intermission for you, Jack.
What is it? What's the intermission, bro?
We're gonna be doing some you laugh, you lose.
Bro, what challenge? What a challenge today. We're reacting to Rowdy Boys video. We're gonna do a laugh you lose challenge. You don't want to lose in this game, so we're gonna react to the Rowdy Boys. All right, let's click play. All right, game face.
That's us.
Wow, that was really hard.
Yeah.
Man, if you guys laughed,
you lose.
You lose. We're all winners today. Back to the... Ready?
Rowdy boys! Woo! One attempt.
Hey, what's pop? What's pop?
Poppin'.
Hey, we finished the challenge. We done skis. Yeah. We did it. We did it, bro.
We're done.
We're done. We're the Beanie Bros. We have finished this challenge. Like and subscribe if you guys played along with us. Like and subscribe if you guys breathe air every day, H2 oxygen. Like and subscribe if you are Calvary Youth fan. That's right. Hey, we're doing this next week. Maybe not another week after that. There's only a few more weeks before we go bye-bye. We go. And hey, we just want to say we love. See ya.
Hey Calvary Youth, this is Isaac from Townsville. I hope we're all doing well. I just want to give a short encouragement on worship. So in Psalms 95 verse 6 it says, "Come, let us bow down and worship. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker." Now, to really worship, or in other words, true worship, isn't the time you spend serving God. It isn't the amount you give weekly, although these are both great things, don't get me wrong. But rather, true worship is to honor with extravagant love and extreme submission. God is in spirit. To worship Him must be in spirit and in truth. Now, worship is dropping all your attention and focusing on the one God who loves you the most. It doesn't matter who you are or what you've done. Just remember, God doesn't look at the flesh, He looks at the intentions of the heart. You know, a woman exiled by sin came before Jesus and dropped all her valuables. She bent to her knees and she prayed and worshiped Jesus. Jesus immediately removed her shame, fears, and sins. Paul and Silas, two prisoners, sung hymns to God in prison. The prisoners listened. Immediately a violent earthquake erupted. Prisoners were set free. The power of worship can cause earthquakes and remove shame. Now, whether or not you're going through something right now, let's worship in this current season that's faced the world. Let's really tap in and raise our hands, close our eyes, and let's really worship.
Sing this out. People come together, strangers, neighbors, our blood is one, and children of generation, of every nation, of kingdom come. And don't let your heart be troubled. Hold your head up high, don't fear no evil. Fix your eyes on this one truth: God is madly in love with you. So take courage, hold on, be strong. Remember where our help comes from. Can we sing it out? Oh. Yes, it is. And Jesus, light of heaven, friend forever, His kingdom come. And don't let your heart be troubled. Hold your head up high, don't fear evil. Fix your eyes on this one truth: God is madly in love with you. So take courage, hold on, be strong. Remember where our help comes from. Oh, 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 oh. Sing that again. Come on. Oh. Come on, can we sing that together? Sing swing wide, swing wide, all you heavens, Let the praise go up as the walls come down. All creation, everything with breath, repeat the sound. All His children, clean hands, pure hearts, good grace, good God. His name is Jesus. Sing that again, swing wide, come on. The swing wide, all you heavens, let the praise go up as the walls come down. All creation, everything with breath, repeat the sound. All His children, clean hands, pure hearts, good grace, good God. His name is Jesus. Sing it out. And oh, whoa, whoa. Come on, let's sing that like an anthem. Swing wide, swing wide, swing wide. All you heavens, let the praise go up as the walls come down. All creation, everything with breath, repeat the sound. All His children, clean hands, pure hearts, good grace, good God. His name is Jesus. His name is Jesus. Oh, we worship God.
Giving online is simple. Text Calvary to 0488 202. You'll receive a reply within seconds. Then follow the prompts to give a one-off or reoccurring gift direct from your mobile device. To give via online banking, visit calvarycc.global/give for campus-specific bank details. Thank you for your generosity.
Hey Calvary Youth, how you guys going? It is so good to have you guys here. Hey, if we haven't met before, my name is Levi, and it's good to meet you. I hope you guys are having a great time already. If not, it's about to get even better, and so you're gonna have a good time from now on, okay? Now, you always had a good time. It's always a good time here on Calvary Youth. Hey, I just think what an opportunity it is to be able to, wherever we're at, whoever we are from around the world, we get to jump on YouTube and we get to jump on Calvary Youth Online and we get to spend time together on a Friday night. I think it's pretty cool. And so right now I actually have the privilege of being able to bring the word with you guys today. And so if you guys are taking notes, which you should, if you're not, that's okay. But why don't you get your note-taking devices out right now, and we're going to jump in. And the title of my message is this. The title of my message is called Ordinary Steps, and I'll explain a bit more what that means, but we're going to jump into the Bible straight away, and we're going to look at Matthew 4 verse 18 to 22, and it says this. It says, as Jesus was walking beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Peter and his brother Andrew, and they were casting a net into the lake, for they were fishermen. And that's usually what fishermen do. And Jesus says to them, he says, come and follow me, and I will send you out to fish for people. And at once they left their nets and they followed him. Going on from there, they saw two other brothers, James and his brother John. They were in a boat with their father, and they were preparing their nets. And Jesus called them, and immediately they left their boat and their father and followed him. You know, I always found it interesting how the disciples, they just dropped everything. They dropped their whole lives, they dropped their jobs, they dropped their family, and they left it just on the fact that Jesus said, hey, come and follow me. Now, they didn't know what they were going to go do. They didn't know, what it meant to be a fisher of people yet. They didn't even know where they were going. All they knew is who called them. They knew that Jesus had said, hey, come and follow me. You know, when I used to live in Sydney, it was a few years ago, and I had a friend. And just in case he's watching this, I won't give his actual name out, but let's call him Toby, right? Now, Toby, he was the kind of person that you would hang out with just to make yourself feel better. To put it plainly, he was an idiot. Basically, anything that he thought, he would say, and everything he would say, he would do. And so a lot of bad ideas came out of his headspace, and he would say it, and then a lot of things that he would say, he would do. One of the terrible ideas, I don't know why we would hang out with him, but one of the terrible ideas that he had, it was actually pretty fun, but we would play this game called 3-Step Knock and Run, And the whole basis of three-step knock and run is it's like normal knock and run where you knock on someone's door that you don't know, or usually you don't do it to someone you don't know because then you don't get in trouble unless they catch you. But it's basically knock and run where you knock on the door and then you run away, and then you see them coming out of their house and you hide in a bush far, far away, and they can't find you and they get annoyed. You might do it a few times if you're bold enough. But three-step knock and run is like knock and run but crazy. Right? Basically, the goal of it is that you knock on someone's door and then you have 3 steps to get out of there. So you would take pretty big steps, but you literally have to get to a hiding place in 3 steps. And so all you could do is literally probably jump over the balcony on the neighbor's porch or something like that and hope that they don't find you. And if they do find you, you hope that they kill you quickly. And so that was one of Toby's, many bad ideas. And the thing about Toby was that he always had these bad ideas, and whenever we would hang out with him, we didn't know what was going to happen or where we were going to go. We just knew it's probably not going to be so good in the end. When the disciples chose to be obedient to Jesus, they didn't choose to live this boring life. When I think the word obedience gets brought up, we always think of our parents saying, you need to be obedient to me. And it's something that we don't want to do. It's something that we think is boring or lame. I know when I was a kid, whenever I heard the word obedience, I was like, no, not for me. I would kind of cringe at the thought of it. But when this is disciples, they get called from Jesus and they choose to be obedient to him. They're not choosing to live this boring life that, things that they don't want to necessarily do, but they actually choose to follow the most life-changing man that has ever walked this earth. If we're following Jesus obediently, no matter what circumstance, he will lead us into an extraordinary life. I want to live an extraordinary life. Do you? And so when we choose to follow Jesus, that's where we're led into. And sometimes when we're following Jesus or we're following God, things can be exciting, it can be big, and it can be extravagant, things happening left and right for us. But other times, it can feel like just an ordinary day. We take one step at a time. We get out of bed, we go to work, we go to school. We do all these things and it feels like just this ordinary life. And sometimes we can question, am I really following God? Because shouldn't it be much more extraordinary than this? Let me tell you, God does want you to live an extraordinary life, but sometimes it takes just ordinary steps to get there. David, he's another one of those people in the Bible. At a young age, he's called by God. He's anointed by God to be the next king of Israel. We read in 1 Samuel 16, verse 10 to 13. It's talking about where Samuel, the prophet, comes and is trying to find the next king of Israel and comes across David. And it says this, and it says, Jesse made 7 of his sons pass before Samuel. And Samuel said to Jesse, the Lord has not chosen these. Then Samuel says to Jesse, are all of your sons here? And he said, there yet remains the youngest, but behold, he is keeping the sheep. And he said, and Samuel said to Jesse, send for him, and we will not wait until he comes here to sit down. And he sent and brought him in, and he was ruddy, and he had beautiful eyes, and he was handsome. Kidding. And the Lord said, arise and anoint him, for this is he. Then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brothers, and the Spirit of the Lord rushed upon David from that day forward. Let me tell you something right now. It doesn't matter if you're the youngest, if you're the smallest, if you're the shortest, if you're the weakest, or if there's someone more qualified or better than you. Let me tell you something, God will use you. I love the fact that they tell this story in the Bible, because even David's family, his dad and his brothers, completely write him off. They think there's no way that David could be the next king of Israel. Let me tell you something, that God cares more about what you can become than who you are right now, than what you've done in your past. God cares more about who you can become than what you've gone through in the past. So let me tell you something, don't let your situation right now determine what you can become. What I love about this story is what David does next. He's just been anointed the king of Israel, the next king to take over from Saul, the next king to lead God's people. And you'd think, if I was just anointed to be the next king or the next president or the next prime minister of a country, I'd probably go out, I'd probably have a party with all my friends, I'd probably put on all these fancy clothes and stuff. I'll tell you something, and this might shock you, what David does next. He goes back and he tends for his sheep. It's crazy. He's just been anointed the next king of Israel, and what does he do? He just goes back to the ordinary life that he was living before. And let me tell you this is my point today, so write this down. When we choose to take ordinary steps of obedience, God leads us into the extraordinary. He leads us into an extraordinary life. And so I want to talk today about those ordinary steps that we're going to take. And so I've got 3 points today, and my first point is this, is that ordinary steps of obedience will, number one is this, it will prepare us for bigger battles. David had this extraordinary call placed upon his life, and he went right back into the ordinary. You know, the next step that David takes is he becomes one of Saul's armor bearers. You know, it's a step up, but it's definitely not something that a future king should be doing. Let me tell you something, that your next step, it might not be spectacular, it might not be, extravagant, but it definitely is significant. You know, there'll be times when you'll be going fast and everything will, people are acknowledging you left and right and things are just amazing and happening. But there'll be other times when, there's no recognition. There's no one saying anything good about you and you're kind of to yourself. But let me tell you something, that's in those moments when there's no recognition, no one's saying anything about us, that's really, that's the time that it shows who we really are, what we're really in it for. And that was like my first year of Bible college. My first year of Bible college changed so much. People were like, whoa, who's this Levi guy? He just came out of nowhere. But in my second and third Bible college years, nothing much changed. But now that I look back at it, I can see that those moments were the moments that grew me the most. It were the moments when I chose not to live just from service to service, not to live just from every Sunday to Friday and grow off that. It was actually in those moments when I learned to have a real relationship with God. It may feel ordinary, but those steps that prepare you for the things to come, those steps that prepare us for the things that are going to come in the future. Let me tell you something. If David never learned how to take care of a flock of sheep, there was no way he was going to take care of a whole kingdom of people. If David never learned how to take criticism from his family, he would never have learned to take criticism from his future citizens. If David never learned how to protect his sheep, he would never learn how to protect his citizens and his people from enemies and dangers from the outside. And so David, the reason why he became such a good king is because he took ordinary steps. He lived everyday life. He lived everyday life to the point where he became the king of Israel because he took ordinary steps. It says in Romans 8 verse 28, it says, and we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Here's the crazy thing. From when David was anointed to when he became king, he had to wait 15 years to become king. In that time though, he was able to grow from just being a shepherd boy to actually being the king of Israel. Why? Because he chose to take ordinary steps. Even though every day felt so ordinary, though he knew he had a great call placed on his life, he chose to take those ordinary steps, which allowed him to grow from just being a shepherd to actually being a king of a whole nation. So that was my first point. My second point is this, is that when we take ordinary steps of obedience, it opens the way into the extraordinary. Without an ordinary step, there is no way for us to enter into the extraordinary. So many times we just want to find the easy way around things. If you play board games or any kind of game with me and you think you can cheat, don't. I just don't like cheaters, right? Because cheaters try and find a way around things. I want to make sure everything is fair. But let me tell you something. If you like to cheat in board games, that's you. But you can't do that in life. There's no cheat code to life. In order to find success, actually success equals time and hard work. It takes time and hard work. David was tasked to go back and forth from battle to home, bringing food for his brothers. And so it's a pretty basic and a tedious task, but it's that consistency that led David to actually fighting and defeating Goliath. It wasn't the first time that David went, or the second time, or the third time. It was actually around the 40th time that David rocked up to the battlefield carrying food for his brothers that he actually got the opportunity to take on Goliath. One ordinary step after another was all that David needed to lead him into an extraordinary situation. The thing about ordinary steps is that we only know the next one we're going to take. God says, I know the plans I have for you. Not you know the plans. It's not we know the plans, but it's God knows the plans. Eventually, after walking ordinary steps of obedience, you'll find yourself in an extraordinary place. For myself and my wife, Anna, we recently started to think, because for a long time we felt, God has placed doing ministry and church on our life. And we knew that it's what we're called to. But recently we've had to kind of step back and go, you know what? We might have to make our own plans. We know God's called us towards this. We just don't know when it's going to happen. It could be tomorrow, but it could be in 5 years. And so I'm not saying there's anything wrong about making plans. But let me tell you something, that when God's plans come through and He reveals those plans to you, none of your plans should stand in the way. And so I started thinking about studying, and I was thinking about, what I'm going to do for work for the next 4 years. And so I started thinking around that. And just as we were making plans to do otherwise, God interjected, and we got actually asked to be the youth pastors of the Sunshine Coast, which is something that, we've definitely felt called to. And it wasn't until that, and see, that's what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with making plans, but when God's plans come through and He tells you where to go and what to do, that comes above the plans that you've made. And so when we choose to follow God and take ordinary steps, He'll lead us into this extraordinary place. I was making all these plans, even though I knew God placed ministry on my life. We just didn't know when it was going to happen. And so, when we choose to take ordinary steps of obedience, God will lead us into extraordinary situations. My final point is this, and this is what I'll wrap up with. When we take ordinary steps of obedience, it will help us see the bigger picture. And here's the bigger picture. Here's the headline. It's not about you. You might be thinking, what? We're talking about how do I live an extraordinary life, and you're telling me at the very end, it's not about me. No, it's not about us. We think if we live an extraordinary life, it's all about us. In order to live an extraordinary life, we need to have a big car. We need to have maybe a big family. We need to have a big mansion. We need to have a lot of money and a lot of friends. And that might be what an extraordinary life looks like to us. But living an extraordinary life doesn't mean being popular or well-known or having 10 houses and a mansion. When you think about it, Jesus was the person who actually lived the most extraordinary life here on earth, and His life was all about other people. He lived His life just like us, taking ordinary steps that led Him eventually into extraordinary situation, into the most extraordinary situation of dying on the cross for us. And so, even in the Bible, God calls David a man after His own heart. After writing this and after, reading this scripture about, in the context of this message, I realized that God says that because David isn't about himself, but he's actually all about other people. You see, when we build God's kingdom, He in turn builds ours. He builds up our lives. But God's kingdom is actually His people. And so our focus isn't on how we can grow, but it's how we can help and grow others. And so the big headline is that it's not about us. That is the bigger picture. In order for us to reach that step of significance, you might have to take many insignificant steps before that. But let me tell you today that God wants to use you to do incredible things. He's got a plan and a purpose for each and every one of us. And our steps might not seem spectacular today or extraordinary, but they're definitely significant as long as we choose, God, I know You have a plan for me. I know I might not be able to see the step in, the future in front of me. I just see the step that's in front of me, and I choose to follow You. If we have that heart, that will lead us into extraordinary situations and lead us into living an extraordinary life for Jesus. Hey, I hope you guys were encouraged tonight. It's been awesome spending time with you guys. We'll see you next time.
We're going to take a moment right now to be able to pray. And so wherever it is that you're joining us from, why don't you just take a moment to close out all of the distraction around you and take a moment to close your eyes and to focus on God. I want to ask you one simple question tonight, and that is, do you know God? Do you know Him personally? Would you call God a friend or your Father in heaven? Maybe for you tonight, the answer to that question is no. You don't know Him as your friend. You don't know Him as your Lord or your Savior. Right now, I'm going to invite you to be able to pray with me to accept Jesus in your heart. What I know about Jesus is that as soon as you reach out to him, he will come into your life and he'll fill your life with purpose and with hope. And so if tonight you're deciding to follow him, know that he has a plan and a purpose for your life. And so wherever you are, why don't you repeat after me? Say, "Dear Jesus, I come to you tonight and I realize that I need you. God, I'm sorry for all I've done wrong. Wash my heart completely clean. Jesus, from this night on, I choose to live for you. I choose to be a Christian. In Jesus' name, amen." Hey, so good to have you tonight. Hey, if you just prayed that prayer to invite Jesus into your heart, you'll see right now a link in the chat box. Follow that link. It'll allow our team to be able to connect with you and come alongside you and help you in your journey of faith. It was so great having you here tonight. We loved having you at Calvary Youth. We hope you have a great night tonight. Love you guys heaps.